If you love solo travel or love the idea of solo travel but aren't convinced by spending all of your time alone, then I can relate. I saw this post on Reddit about someone wanting to do activities but not wanting to have to automatically talk to people. So, in this video, I'm going to rank all of the ways that I've met people doing activities that didn't rely on small talk or tons of conversation. I'm ranking these as high, medium, and low. And high to me means that it was a good experience, a good use of time, and it was easy to feel social without that forced feeling. I'll rank something low if I think it's not a good use of time or just poor value compared to what I paid, as well as if there were any social aspects that I just didn't enjoy, if it was awkward. I've also split the list into two. So, organic interactions where it's all a little bit unplanned, as well as intentional. So, going in, you know that you're going to be meeting people. All right, let's start with the intentional ones. So, the first one is a bit of a big one, but it's things like meetup groups or social groups that you might find on Facebook. My approach is to concentrate on the activities that have a focus. For example, pub quizzes or board games, cards, art. I know that drink and draw is very popular, as well as things like even an escape room. There's an element of socializing, but it's primarily you're there to solve a goal, solve a puzzle. The reason I find meetup groups really useful is because nearly everybody's in the same boat. They're there because they want to meet people and maybe make a friend. I've used Meetup whether I'm in a location or even if I'm traveling. I think as well these pre-organized groups are useful because they attract people that maybe even find the socializing aspects a little bit difficult sometimes. I rate event-based meetup groups as high value. But then there's the group tours that are shorter, so maybe a couple hours or maybe up to 8 hours. So it's like a day tour. Last year I was really lucky. I did a tour to Plavice Lakes in Croatia, and I happened to be sat near another solo woman traveling, and we just, got on really well. And she didn't seem to mind when I was just putting in my headphones and zoning out on the bus ride. My tips, though, are if you are in these types of group scenarios, it is a mixed bag in terms of who else is going to be there. Might be like family groups, it might be friends, couples. Don't assume if you see people talking that they're definitely part of a group. I know that sometimes you get other solo travelers that get sucked into conversations right away, and then it's impossible to tell if they are part of that group or not unless you happen to be eavesdropping. I rate the short group tours as high. Next is cooking classes, and I think they're interesting, but I'm going to rate these as low because it's almost always groups, couples. The Lao one, I was the only person there. And the one in Vietnam, it was like a assembly line factory. It was just like, basically chop, 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 and then they moved you to the next station. I can't say I actually learned anything. My suggestion is to only go to a cooking class if you really want that particular skill, but otherwise I wouldn't bother. Sorry to interrupt. If you're finding this video useful, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe, and this will tell YouTube to keep sharing it with other people and help my channel grow. The next one is the more organic encounters. So this is where it's not a set group thing and you're going to probably need to make the first move. The first category is transportation based. And for some reason, it feels icky and weird to have a conversation with somebody on an airplane and possibly even a train. I don't know why, but on the ferry, it seemed okay. So my success story on the ferry was I was traveling between Coron and El Nido in the Philippines, and I saw a woman in a window seat with bags in the middle, and then the aisle seat was free. So I got permission and I sat there, and we didn't actually speak that much during the ferry ride, but kind of towards the end, we started comparing notes, and it was cool. We were both from the UK and traveling alone. It was great. We ended up hanging out for the next 4 days. So, yeah, that was great. So the transportation one, I'm going to call it medium, or it's kind of mixed. I think it just depends. The next one is travel accommodation. I've had a real mixed bag when it comes to Airbnb and guest house type accommodation. Sometimes you meet other travelers and they have similar travel goals to you, and so it can end up being really nice to compare stories and talk about what the plans are for the future. I've also had really good experiences with some of my hosts in these scenarios. Um, I had one Airbnb host who ended up taking me to the farmer's market and showing me around, and that was really, really nice. I've also had terrible Airbnb experiences. I'm going to talk about that in a future video and why I think I'm done with Airbnb. The next big category is bars and pubs. Oftentimes, there's a focus on watching a game on television or listening to live music or actually pub trivia, but you kind of need a group for that. But the going and just having a drink on your own, it took me a long time to feel comfortable doing that, but I definitely do it now. Anywhere in the world, pretty much anywhere in the world. If there is live music or something happening, if I have a table, I'll pick the smallest table possible, but sometimes it's nice to offer someone your chair. Maybe they want to sit down too. And if I leave, then they can have the whole table to themselves, no problem. The next one I'm calling events, and this can be anything from going to a comedy show to something like Nerd Night, where you have three speakers talking about a topic they're really passionate about. Maybe a concert. It's definitely not focused on couples or families. It can be anybody who's interested. And so, because there's probably an interest overlap, it can be easy to have conversations with people about something interesting without necessarily, you know, becoming this whole long conversation. This would probably be one of my favorite categories. It's just a matter of picking the right event, and especially if you're familiar with the format already, it's a little bit less overwhelming. I'm going to rate these as medium. It can be kind of hard to tap into the social aspect because in a lot of cases they've been a little bit crowded and overwhelming. Okay, last we have dating apps. I can't not mention dating apps, especially if you are just traveling solo. I haven't been using dating apps lately. I have in the past, but this is a low for me. I think if you're traveling, even if you're not traveling, it is a lot of time and effort to get to the point where you actually meet someone in person. And even then, conversation is definitely going to be the focus. So, to recap, the best ones to focus on are anything like a short group tour where there's a defined start and end point, and you have something to look forward to, something to do, or some type of group event or meetup where there's a specific activity that isn't focused on conversation. Find yourself resonating with this type of scenario. Tell us in the comment what worked for you. I also just got off another solo cruise, and in my next video, I'm going to rate three major cruise lines that I was on and how I felt about that. In the meantime, head over to watch this video about my solo cruise experiences. Thanks for watching. See you there.